Welcome, welcome. This is Marnie Swedberg from womenspeakers.com here today with Sharon, Jaynes, one of our featured speakers at womenspeakers.com. And Sharon, you have a new book and I think you've got the workbook on your side, right?
I do. Let's see. Where did I put
where'd you go?
Yeah. I do have
it was there.
It was here, and now it's gone. Oh, here it is. Okay.
You got some glare going on here. Power of a Woman's Words and the workbook that goes with. Yay! And you've written over 20 books and so many favorite books. I think maybe one of your first ones that I came to know about was the Women's Ministry Guide that you wrote ages and ages ago. And with all my work with women's ministry leaders, I just loved that. It was really a handbook, almost like a college curriculum, that one.
That's really good. Yeah, they use it in some seminaries to help
Absolutely.
people.
Really, really great book. So if you guys don't know about that, check that out too. But now you've written this book, Power of a Woman's Words, and I love it. We're going to talk about some different sections of it, but I wanted you to start with the story about mixed messages.
Now, you would ask me to start with something embarrassing. Is that
okay? Well,
right,
of course, that's how we do. Yeah.
So this is one of my most embarrassing moments. But I was taking a walk with a neighbor, Catherine, in my neighborhood, and we walk about 3 miles or so. And it was a summer, and it got dark around 9 or so, and went back in her house, and she was asking me about fabric swatches. She was redoing her den. And so we were looking at paint, fabric, all that kind of thing. And next thing I knew, it was like 10 o'clock. And I went, oh my goodness, Steve, my husband, doesn't even know where I am. I better call him and let him know I'm okay. I bet he's worried sick. So I called the home phone, and this was the day when you had the answering machine, not the answering service. So I called, and the answering machine picked up. And I will tell you, that made me just a little bit mad. And this is what I said into the answering machine. I said, I called to let you know I was at Catherine's. I thought you'd be worried about me, but obviously you don't even care because you won't pick up the phone. So I hung the phone up, and I was walking home dejected. You know how we girls do. And I was like, you didn't care where I am. I might be dead on the side of the road, and it's dark. It's 10 o'clock. And then I see him coming toward me on his bicycle, and I'm like, oh. And he said, where have you been? I've been looking all over for you. And I was like, he does care. I said, you do care. He said, what are you talking about? I said, nothing. So we go back home, and Marnie, you know what is the first thing I did when I walked in the house, right? I went to that. Erase that voicemail. So I erased it because I did not want him to hear that. Well, a few days later, he called me from work, and he said, have you listened to the voicemail lately? I went, no. He said, you need to use your cell phone to call the home phone. So I did that, used the cell phone, called the home phone, and this is what the message said. It said, hello, sweet voice. You've reached the Jaynes residence. We're unable to answer the phone right now. I called to let you know I was at Catherine. I thought you'd be worried about me, but obviously don't care because you won't pick up the phone. Please leave a message and we'll get back with you.
Oh, no.
What in the world? I was so embarrassed.
Oh,
I called the phone company, and in summer in the South, we have a lot of thunderstorms, and she said lightning probably struck your house and got those two messages mixed together. Oh my goodness. I went, Lord, I am so embarrassed. And then that little small voice, I heard him say, and so am I. So, that was a big picture to me on how quickly we as women, or all of us, can flip between blessing and cursing, building someone up, tearing them down, all in the same breath. And then the Bible talks about that, doesn't it? And it talks about how the words we use is, what is in the heart will come out of the mouth. Now, my country grandmother, I don't know if she knew that verse or not, but she used to say, what is down in the well will come up in the bucket. So that is the grandma translation of what is in the heart will come out of the mouth. But it was mixed messages, and I realized how much we as women how quickly we can do that. So
and God is so faithful to humble us, isn't he? He's just right there to help us out with that.
Yes, a teaching moment. So thank you very much, Lord. Yeah,
and now for so many of us, and that's kind of what being an author and a speaker is about bearing your soul as well as teaching biblical principles about God's forgiveness and grace when we muck up, as well as that we all know.
And let me, say something to authors and speakers is, when you share a story like that, you come on stage and they're like, oh no, here's this perfect person. Who writes books. And, I tell that story and they'll go, oh, she's just like me.
Just a person.
And somebody will go, she's worse than me. I'm going to like her. So,
yeah, that's great. That's great. One of your sections in the book is called Graveyard Grumbling to Life Force Gratitude. And I just love that.
Grumbling. That is just something, right now where we are in history. It is so hard not to grumble, isn't it? We think on any given day we tend to grumble, but now we're grumbling about COVID. We're grumbling about what is going on with the marches, and there's so much that we can grumble about. And when what is down in the well comes up in the bucket, but what? The words that come out of our mouths also affect our minds. And so when we are looking at the negative and those grumbling words are coming out of our mouths, it is affecting our soul. It's affecting our spirit. It's affecting those people around us. And you probably know that if you're a grumbler, you're not going to have people that want to be around you. But when you turn into a person that is grateful and you're looking at what you're grateful for, that just draws people in. I don't know about you, Marnie, but I want to be around people like that. I look for people in my sphere of influence that I can be close to that are grateful people, because it just helps me to keep my mind focused right. And doesn't the Bible say God inhabits
I was going to say
of his people?
It's not just other people who love a grateful heart. It's God who loves a grateful heart. He loves a grateful heart. And when you're grumbling, you're really just, I feel like for me, what I'm doing when I'm grumbling is I'm saying, you're not doing a very good job at being God. That's what I feel like I'm saying.
And I could do it better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. God,
I can do it better.
Good job, and I can do it better.
Absolutely. If I were in charge, it would not look like this, which actually it wouldn't, but then it'd just be an even worse mess, right?
Right. And I think, Marnie, that is a very good point that you brought up, because when we are grumbling, we might think that we're grumbling about the quarantine, or we're grumbling about our husband, or we're grumbling about our children or finances. But what it comes down to is what you just said. Who are we really grumbling against? Right. We're not really grumbling against our circumstances. We're grumbling about the people in our family. We're really grumbling about God and how he's doing things. And look at the Israelites. That was one of the things that kept them out of the promised land. And we could be saved, like they were saved from slavery, but they never made it to where God wanted them to go because of disobedience and because of their grumbling. Yeah, it is so offensive to God that it kept them from receiving all that God had planned for them. And I believe it's true with us, that when we are grumblers and we're looking for everything negative, it will keep us from having the experiencing that abundant life that God has for us.
Yeah, for sure. And gratitude doesn't have to be necessarily about your circumstance. It can be about that God is faithful to bring good out of whatever you're going through. So I know a lot of people get kind of mucked up on that and feel like I have to say thank you for this because this is horrible. But you don't actually have to be grateful for what it is. You have to be grateful that God is bigger than what it is. Because I don't think any of us would say, I'm grateful there's a hell. I'm grateful somebody's going to hell, or, that there's that none of us would be grateful for that, but we can be grateful that there's the God that saves and offers salvation to every soul. Right. And so there's always something to be grateful, always something to be grateful for. I love that plaque. There's always.
Yeah. I love this story. It's an old story, but it was about Corrie ten Boom and her sister who were in a concentration camp. And I bet you know where this is going.
I do, but go ahead and share it.
But that their little Betsy, her sister, had read the verse, give thanks in all things. And they were inundated with fleas. They had so many fleas. And her sister said, I'm going to thank God for the fleas. And Corrie ten Boom said, I will be thankful, but I am not thanking God for the fleas. But later on, it's a longer story, but they realized that the Nazi guards were not coming into their cabin, not a cabin, into their cell, their part of their cell in the concentration camp. And so they were able to talk about Jesus more freely. And someone said, why are they not coming in? They were not coming in because of the fleas.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, God can bring good out of every last thing, no matter how terrible it looks to us. Another one you have in the book is called the bucket principle.
Oh, yes, the bucket principle. That kind of goes back to the grumbling. You know, when I talk about being grateful, and some people say, well, I just don't have anything to give. I can't encourage other people because I feel so empty myself. And listen, I've heard that time and time again over these months of quarantine. How can I encourage someone else? I am so empty. And I do call that the bucket principle. If you remember, the prophet Elisha went... he was by the Kerith ravine. God had a famine on the land. And he was by the Kerith ravine. There was a river there, and God provided water for him and provided ravens to bring him meat. But eventually the river dried up. So he went to the widow at Zarephath, and God sent him to her to provide for him. Well, when he comes to that place, she is not someone with a lot of abundance. She's picking up sticks. And she says it's for her last meal. She's going to build a fire, her last meal for her and her son. And then they were going to die. Okay, now that is a discouraged woman. But the prophet said, no, you know what? You go make me a little cake first. And then your bowl will not run out of flour. Your jar will not run out of oil until this famine is over. And she did that. She fixed him a cake. She had nothing left, took it to him, went back home. And then she had flour in her bowl and oil in her jar. You know, what I believe is that as we have a bucket of encouragement and we pour out and give to other people, God will pour back into us. It tells us in the New Testament, give and it will be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, running over, it will be poured into your lap. And I believe that's true with encouragement. As we speak words, positive words to other people, even when we don't feel like it, even when we feel empty, God will pour it back into us. We might not get it from other people, but we will get it from God. It'll fill our bucket back up. And as you know, Marnie, there's some people who feel like their bucket's a little empty. And what they try to do to fill up their bucket is to dip out of someone else's bucket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that? Yeah. They'll try to, cut someone down or say something hurtful to someone else in order to make themselves feel better, but it never works. That always leaks out of that bucket.
Yeah.
So they've got holes in their bucket, but it's when we pour out and give to others with our words, to our children, husbands, friends, out in the world, God pours back into us. And that's the bucket principle.
Yeah, that's so great. And just to always remember that God is never out of any of the fruit of the Spirit ever. He's got abundant love, patience, joy, peace, all of those things in abundance. So to tap into him. I want to take us, before we're done here, I want to take us to page 68 and 69 of your book, because here, and this book is full of so many different kinds of things like this, but this is the list of power-packed words that will crush a child's heart, and words that children long to hear. And some of the things that crush a child's hearts are, you should, you ought, you can't do anything right, you are driving me crazy, you make me so angry, why did you do that? And I was going through this whole long list. You don't even love me. I mean, there's some of this. The one that I didn't realize how much it was crushing my children was, I'm just so disappointed. I would say, I'm just so disappointed. And they finally, one of my kids said to me, Mom, when you say that, I just feel terrible. And I was like, really? Oh, I didn't realize. I just was disappointed, and so I just said it. But I didn't realize the power of a mama's words, the power of a woman's words, right?
Right. And you're disappointed. It's when we say, I'm so mad, or you made me mad, that reflects poorly on us. So I think as mamas sometimes instead of saying I'm mad, and when we turn it around and say I'm disappointed, that puts the weight on that child. So it almost sounds better to us, and it feels a lot worse to them. But the mama's words, and in the book, it's not just, we're not talking just about children, that we're talking about children, husbands, friends, church, out in the world, wherever, and adult children. That's a whole nother ballgame, how to use your words with adult children. But the words that we speak can affect someone for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
It can determine which way they go. for the rest of their lives. And I know that is true in my own life. You know, I grew up in a home where there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of violence. I had a lot of hurtful words spoke over me, that I was never enough. I'd never be good enough. Grew up feeling really badly about myself. But I had that. That was my environment growing up. But then on the next block, one of my best friend's mom spoke positive words over me. She told me about Jesus and how much God loved me and how he fashioned me to do great things in my life. She spoke loving words over me. And I ended up coming to Christ through her. And then within a 6-year period, both of my mean old parents became Christians, and God did an incredible thing. But by the time they became Christians, the damage was already done in my heart. But I got to look at those two examples, the power of a woman's words to destroy a child, the power of a woman's words to lift up a child. And so when I became a mom, I thought, I want to make sure I'm the kind of mom that speaks life into those around me. I want to be the kind of wife that speaks life into those around us, because, you know, as you know, Maury, our words become the mirrors in which other people see themselves. I saw myself one way, then I saw myself another way. And the people in our lives will see themselves a particular way, a lot of times because of the words that we speak.
I just love that. You guys need to check out the book, Power of a Woman's Voice. I have to do this mirror thing. And be sure to check out Sharon's Jaynes Ministry. It's over at your website is SharonJaynes.com. And then also womenspeakers.com. I think you are in North Carolina. Am I correct?
I am. Yep.
Yeah. So if you click on North Carolina there on that map on the front page of womenspeakers.com, you'll find her right away there. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sharon. I love you. Love your book. Love what God does through you.
Thank you, Marnie.
Okay, take care. And see you guys next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.